Hello, America, and to our friends around the world. Welcome to the Common Sense Show. We are the show that is freeing America one enslaved mind at a time. And as I like to tell you every day, we defend God, family, country in that order. And we really have a special place in our heart for the oppressed. The Bible's really clear about our attitude towards the poor. And I hope that in some small measure, I'm fulfilling the mandate that we're supposed to follow. I want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for your well wishes and support and your honest testimonials that you are being unsubscribed against your choice and that many of you are not receiving notifications as I suspected. And yeah, I'm concerned because we really try to link everything back to the word ultimately. And secondary to the Bible is the Constitution, which I hold in high respect and reverence because we have the best form of government ever created, at least ones by man. The one that's coming is going to put this one to shame, but we need to preserve this one. And this is one of the things we try to do: God, family, country. I did make the decision based on what a lot of you told me that I heard people give testimonials about how some of what we do here shapes you. And if we save one soul, only one, then we have done our job. And it's our duty, Ephesians 5:11, to cast light on the evildoers. And this is what I'm trying to do here. And I don't sit here and keep score and try to measure our successes. I just try to do my job. I focus on the process, not the results. And when I was a basketball coach, I did the same thing. I had a specialty as a coach, and the specialty was taking losing programs and turning them around. And I had a long history of that. And modestly, I did that pretty well. And one of the things that I did really applies here. I never talked to my players when they came from a losing background about winning, about the importance of winning. I talked to them about trust the process. Go with the process. Have faith. Tomorrow you'll be better than you are today and will continue to grow. And that really bore fruit for me. And I believe the same process is at work here too. Just keep your nose to the grindstone, follow the process, do what you believe that you're called to do. And this is what we do here. But I want to tell you, I was tremendously touched personally by your support. And it's not an ego thing, it's we're all in this together thing. And knowing that we give you a platform where we can stand in unity for our views and stand up for what's right, what's noble, what's godly really means a lot to me, and I'm really honored to be part of that. Now, before I go farther, I just want to make sure that I make it so clear to you that if you're sitting on any money, the banks are the worst place you could do. Yeah, gold, crypto, awesome. And you know how much I love Noble Gold, continue to support Noble Gold, and they're the only ones I do my gold business with. But this one here is about, okay, you're sitting on some money and you're looking to diversify, and you should have money in different pots. Ironhawk Financial is the way to go. First of all, there's never, it's like Noble Gold, there's never any misleading. It's just straight, honest, truthful facts, answer your questions, not push you into anything. In fact, honestly, not everyone who calls them fits the model of the people that they can help, but they are trying to direct people in other ways that could be of benefit to them. And I know the chief operating officer, Marianne McAdory, she's really doing a good job of developing programs to help people that Ironhawk can't help directly. And I'm really honored and privileged to be part of that team. And I'm telling you, this is proprietary information formally, presently available to you through these experts. And they can take a good sum of money and turn it into a huge sum of money and do it tax-free and make it recession-proof. And they have proven these claims time and time again. So what are you going to do? You're going to go to dhawk.com, and just let the chips fall where they may. We're out of town right now. In fact, the lady I just mentioned, Marianne McAdory, is getting married today. And we're going to be getting together with her and her husband after the fact, going to a fun activity tonight together. And her and her brother, Joe Lombardi, who's the CEO, just quality people. And they could really help you. dhhawk.com. You owe it to yourself to check it out. And we owe it to ourselves to be faithful to our mission. And I want to talk a little bit about my background. And this is not meant to brag. I mean, I'm coming to you in a spirit of total humility. And I'm just saying, God does things for people that we can't see the reason why at the time. But when you look back on it, you can say, He has a plan. He wants me in this position. I firmly believe that. And He has guided my steps. In fact, let me just start when I was really, really young. And I want to give you a little bit of a biography because I feel we've really bonded over the struggle I had to continue on this forum. When I was born, I had severe asthma, other problems, and my parents were told by experts at the University of Iowa Medical School that I wouldn't live to be 10 years of age. Well, I had a grandmother that prayed every day. I had parents that prayed every day and did everything they could do for me. And I got a scholarship to play basketball in college. Did it work? And then there was this period in my life. It was my first year out of college. And I had three what could have easily been near fatal accidents. I'm driving to my first job site. I'm in a rural road. It's 7 a.m. We're getting towards the end of my first school year as a teacher and a coach. And a drunk crossed over and hit me pretty much head on. My car was thrown off the road, and there were steep embankments. Car did not roll. And this is in the day when you didn't wear seatbelts, and I walked away from it. I had a headache, a little bit of a concussion. He had 2 broken legs, a broken pelvis. But I was dealt a bad blow. Older car, yeah, lost my car that day. Okay, that was one. Number 2, guy comes off an off-ramp, huge truck, and scrapes my car. I move, and then he bumps my car trying to squeeze in. And I went head on to the support pylons under the interstate overpass bridge. Car had a V in it like that. And I was a little banged up on that. I got some stitches and stuff, but I went home that night. Could have easily been fatal. Now, I'm driving to work again. I'm a few blocks from my work site. And this is the beginning of my second year. A lady is late getting her kid to school. She runs a stop sign and nearly rips off almost my entire front end of the car. My sister told me, she goes, little brother, I think God has a plan for your life. That's 3 of those accidents in 6 months. Then I overcame the health thing. And now I look at my academic background. Undergrad was sociology, so I kind of see how things fit together. And part of my education as undergrad, I learned about emergency systems and how societies fall apart, how America's set up to try to rehabilitate as much as possible. And we went to all kinds of secure facilities, including Cheyenne Mountain. I got a real education on this, and this has helped me in what I do here. My background in psychology, my work as a former therapist, that helped a great deal too. And then research and stat, well, I can smell the BS from a mile away because I'm professionally equipped to look at data and tell you what the patterns are. And it's not bragging. I'm just saying these things all fit together to help me do what I do here. But I also was born to parents who love God, made me go to church when I was young, when I wanted to sleep in on Sundays. And I look back on it now, and I am where I am largely because of the good upbringing I had and kind of some random choices. I followed what interested me. But here was the big event that put me here. My wife and I were having so much fun in our marriage. And we finally were able to conceive our first child after struggles with fertility, struggles with miscarriages. And we had our miracle baby, preemie, really big time preemie, 2 pounds, 3 ounces. But he survived, went on to really just be another normal person. We were lucky. He was lucky. Blessings of God. But one day we were saying, I don't really like the neighborhood we're living in. It's getting more crime ridden. We're seeing graffiti on the streets, and we had 2 bicycles stolen out of our garage. And so we said, let's move to a more rural area. We can stay connected to the city, but we'll be removed. Well, little did I know, we would soon fall into the clutches of John McCain and Ted Kennedy and the Central American project they had called the Canamex Highway System. They disguised it, said you're on property you shouldn't be on, yet we had all the permits and approvals. And they went after me and 300 of my neighbors to try to steal our property without any compensation at all. And this led to an 8-year battle. And I started appearing in the media, pleading our case, trying to build up public opinion, put pressure on politicians. And what was really interesting about that time is I learned how the system was really corrupt. We eventually won. It was an 8-year battle. And thank you to my friend Ernie Hancock of Freedom's Phoenix, and also to our Arizona Supreme Court Justice Clint Bullock, who then was with a nonprofit legal organization called the Goldwater Institute, and they stepped in and stopped all the nonsense. And we were not a popular cause. We were vilified in the media. You're anti-American, and it was really, really bad. 8 years of that crap. But it put me behind the microphone because I kept going on this one guy's show, and he said, Dave, you need to have a show. I'm, no, no, no. He goes, you're here almost every week. He goes, you got to have a show. So I decided, I started on Sunday afternoons, did a show. Then I went to RBN, did a show. It's where I met my friend John Moore, who's still there doing a great job. And the rest, as they say, is history. God puts you in positions to serve him. And I feel when I can look at things like what the data centers are doing to America, the threat of AI, this unwarranted war that's really bad for America, undue foreign influence on our politicians, and in many of our nonprofit political groups like TPUSA. I look at all this now and I say, I have the insight to look into this and see the patterns and really tell you about it like I'm teaching a class because God put me in the right places. It has nothing to do with my talent, skill, and so forth and so on. I can read and write. That's what I had to do to be where I'm at. And I'm mildly stubborn, and I think that a lot of that comes from health issues at a young age. When my parents told me you can't do this, and secretly, when I was away from them, I would do that just to be like other kids. And so I got a little bit of a stubborn, defiant streak in me where I'm saying I'm not going to be treated that way. And that serves me well in this business because many people tried to shut me down. We're witnessing that right now. So God has a plan for everybody. And the reason I'm telling you my story is I'm not trying to brag or set myself up as an example for anything, but I'm just saying if I can come across and I can do things that make a difference in the eyes of God and in the eyes of a lot of you who wrote to me when we were contemplating leaving, then he can do the same for you. And not everyone serves in the same way. God calls us to serve in many different ways according to the talents and the experiences he brings us through. And he does have long range plans. He ain't like Wall Street. God's not like Wall Street that only thinks about the next quarter's profits, 3 months out. The people who really are more like God's planning are the Chinese, where they have 50-year and 100-year plans. God has a plan for eternity. And we all fit into that plan if we just take the necessary steps, which is to confess Jesus is the Son of God, and we know he died for our sins, paid the price for our bad decision making, because none of us achieve the glory of God. We all fall short. And you do that, and you say, I repent. God, send the Holy Spirit, have him help me. If we got more people to do this, And I'm speaking to a lot of you who are where I'm at with your faith. Some of you are more advanced in your faith than I am. But I'm speaking to all of you and saying, we do have a Great Commission. Now, the Great Commission carried out by the conquistadors is brave and is they were so exploration oriented, and they did some good things. They also did some bad things. Do you believe? Well, if not, then we're going to kill you. No, 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 no. That's not what the Great Commission is supposed to be. The Great Commission is, this is what God's done for me. He can do it for you. And we care about your eternal soul. And that's the thing that really matters here. Your body's going to fade away. One of the things that's interesting, and I haven't really researched this yet, but the effect of near-death experiences, does the Bible really validate this? Now, we do know Jesus brought people back from the dead, and he came back after 3 days. But that doesn't answer the question about near-death experiences. But let me tell you what I've learned with some of the ones I've been exposed to. Jesus is a central part of this, and that's for atheists. And there's some amazing things like blind people that have, and I think this would make a fascinating research study, but there are blind people that have had near-death experiences that can actually describe colors of certain things. The church I go to, I've never seen it in my eyes. No one's told me much about the church, but I can see details when I had that experience. I knew what the wood looked like on the preacher's podium. I mean, these kinds of things you hear, and they're remarkable stories. I don't know that we really should take their prophecies to heart unless it matches what the Bible says. But I think it's a fascinating area. But one of the things I've learned about near-death experiences is that they talk about looking down on their body, and yet they're ascending. Some go through the light, some go through tunnels, but their body is left behind. And the point of what I'm telling you here is not to validate near-death experiences, but that image that people describe, the body left behind, that's true. What's in you, your eternal soul, is what matters. And I find it interesting, too, that so many scientists today are converting. They're finding things in the universe. They go, this is not random. There is no big bang that happened on its own, some accident. No, there had to be a first mover. Now, my little pea brain can't conceive of, well, who created God? And people will ask that question, and I understand because we're programmed in our three-dimensional universe to think everything has to have a creation. I suppose my pea brain will understand that when I get in his presence. But he is first, last, and always. The Alpha, the Omega, everything. And what I'm telling you is that we do have a mission. The mission is to get people to realize we're more than our bodies. And yeah, you should take care of your body. You hear me talk about the Nanosoma liquid spray. And I'm telling you, that did save my life. Those aren't exaggerated statements when I make them. I was in big, big, big trouble. The prognoses I got from really good doctors that I believed in, they were giving me what the medical books would tell them. I had a miracle, another one, miracle from God, using these products. And what I'm telling you is that I'm here for a purpose. You're here for a purpose. Use your skills to bring people to the faith. Use your skills to make people realize that having a government that is following the constitutional rules of our republic is worth saving. And we can't sit back and say someone else is going to do it. Don't point. You got to do it, because you got three fingers pointing back at you saying, get off your backside and get to work. And like I said, I can't tell you what your method of the Great Commission is, your method of being a patriotic American. Some people fell in love with MAGA because Trump has to do it all. And we're finding out the job is bigger than just one man. Trump has done some phenomenal things for our country, and he's helped a lot of our people. But he's also showing you that he's not perfect. We're certainly in a war that we have no business being in whatsoever. I don't buy the weapons of mass destruction for all the reasons I've said previously. But he is not perfect. I'm glad we have him. I mean, would you rather have had the alternative? I don't think so. So I am thankful, and I would ask you to pray for discernment for President Trump. Don't judge as much as I want you to pray for discernment. And I'm going to tell you, in his core, I don't know what forces are manipulating him with regard to the war, with regard to the AI and data centers that we're allowing to get out of control, according to the experts. I don't understand all that. But what I do know is he does fundamentally love America, and he loves Americans. I've seen proof of it over and over and over again in many ways that I pointed out. And we need to pray for discernment, courage, and support from the Lord that he can carry out the mission that he promised when he ran for president 3 times. And I have 10 years of history of supporting this man and 3 elections of voting for him. And he's still doing good things. When he's talking about voter integrity in the Chinese, I think his facts are rock solid. I don't think I know. I wrote about this back in 2021 in May. Oh, there were people that loved what I wrote, like Sarah Westall, Paul Preston, my friends I have as colleagues, and they reproduced what I did. I'd go on their shows, and they started getting threats. Paul got a direct death threat. Dave Hodges is going to get you killed. President Trump repeated in his last major speech about voter integrity many of the allegations I had in that 2021 article. If I'm in an election, I'm voting and we lose fair and square. There's no midnight mail-ins. You have to accept what the will of the people is, if it's godly. But I won't accept it when I know how many problems there are. And the president has done a marvelous job of identifying the problems, and he's facing bureaucratic and administrative resistance because the system has been infected. And to say that it hasn't is to be ignorant to the facts. One of the organizations I would encourage you to support if you want America where the vote means something is Tom Fitton at Judicial Watch. We are supporters, and as a result, we get his newsletter. He is fantastic. He has gotten removed 6 million people who didn't belong on the voter rolls. And then Liz Harris, who I used to do a lot of work with at one time, she canvassed Maricopa County and found hundreds of thousands of people registered that were dead or moved away. There are good people out there that are telling us with research, verifiable research, that we should be concerned. And if you're unconvinced by what I just said, let me just share this one thing with you. And I'm so glad the president's on board with this. In the election of 2022, midterm, it was a governor's election in the major state offices. Our legislature was up for election. In Republican dominant districts where you had 50% plus one registered Republicans, 56% of the voting machines went down. That's not in dispute. This has been adjudicated, testified to in court, accepted as evidence. 56%. The excuse was, well, it was the paper we used. That might be true. I don't know. I can't judge that. But here's where it gets suspicious. In the Democratic districts, 50% plus one, they had no failures. Well, they used a different paper, says Runbeck. And my question is, in the same election, in the same county, with the same governing agencies, the county clerk and recorder, the board of supervisors, why would you use different paper? Why? Shouldn't it be stock and uniform? And the other thing too, it's state law. They had to test these machines prior to the election, and we can't find paperwork that says they did. And then they say what TPUSA tells you now, if you don't like the way the trial's going and you see holes in TPUSA stories about various things, don't ask questions. That was our Board of Supervisors' attitude. Don't ask questions. Do you know how ridiculous they got? When my friend, who lives two doors down from me, and he's involved in what we are involved in, reform of America, he goes to vote. And we did a drop off on ours. He actually went physically showed up to vote. This also happened to my sister-in-law. Oh yeah, the machines are down. He goes, I gotta go to work. This is ridiculous. I gotta go stand in the line. Another said, oh no, 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 you can fill out your ballot and drop it in box 3, an open box with no security, no safety, and little, if any, oversight. And that was okay with the Board of Supervisors. They got challenged on that by the public in public comment. They were fine with it. Are you fine with practices like that? You may be in Atlanta. You had problems. Philadelphia. You had major problems. Michigan, New York, California, same thing. It's not unique to Maricopa County. But as many people point out to me around the country, Dave, your county is the most corrupt in the country, and they're the trendsetter for all corruption. This comes to me from people outside Maricopa County, and I've been hearing it for years. And I don't wear it as a badge of honor. I love my state. I live here by choice. I was raised in Colorado. I got off a plane when it was snowing one day after coming back from Phoenix at spring break, and I said, I got to find a way to get down there. I like. Now, I don't really like the 115, but I will tell you this, it's a really good place to live. And there's really good people here, and there's great opportunity. But on the political side, we have cleanup on aisle 1. I'll just put it that way. I'll say it nicely. And I'm involved with many people who have been or are in high level politics in Arizona. And many of them are just outstanding people. Leave your door unlocked, live in their neighborhood. You trust them, trust your kids with them. And there are some who are scary. And the people they hang out with are scarier. And I'll just leave it at that. And I've seen these firsthand. How did I get to know these people? Well, when I'm ticking off a major senator and John McCain and his partner Ted Kennedy over the Central American Free Trade Agreement, you find pretty quickly who's going to support you and who isn't. And we gained a lot of support in the Arizona legislature, and I got to know a lot of people. And there were many Democrats that supported us too. The broad brush we say Democrats are today, their leadership is horrendous. I think they're almost anti-human. But the rank and file, they're kind of like held captive. They don't like the antitrust actions of the big businesses that control the GOP. So they go the other way, but then they got to deal with their anti-human policies of their own party they don't support. I mean, have you heard the latest thing? This is beyond the pale. We need to abolish the Senate and get a unicameral. Well, that means if you can get millions of people on your voting rolls illegally, like Tom Fitness found, and this is public record with the courts, then you can sway a popular election. And a popular election would be you don't have the Senate, where you automatically have 2 representatives regardless of your population. Now your representation is based on per 100,000 people. Well, we know how that can be manipulated. There's lots of cases on this. There have been people that have gone to prison for manipulating the process. And they want a unicameral so they can cheat. There's no other way to say it. What do they say? Freedom is not free. Neither is salvation. So anyway, I wanted to just kind of set the tone for where I'm going to go here. If you haven't heard about my background, well, now you have. And if you haven't heard what motivates me to do what I'm doing, it's not the clicks, but it's reaching as many people as I can positively. The money that I earn from these YouTube subscriptions and the advertising, it's okay. And trust me, we tithe to the church. Um, but would we be fine without this? Yes, we would be. And my wife has asked me sometimes to reconsider my level of commitment. And I've made some adjustments based on her request. And she has said, we could be just fine without any of this. And then I tell her my real purpose, and I get the nod of the head. And thank you for giving me the nod of your head by all of you who told me you were glad we were going to continue. Now let's make it count. Let's stand for something here. I'm not denigrating any other religion. And I like how the Netanyahu supporters call me anti-Semitic. My grandma Freiberg in heaven disagree with me being categorized as an anti-Semite with that kind of name in our family line. And I'm proud of that too. I'm proud of those relatives, those ancestors I had. They taught me an awful lot about oppression as they escaped Germany. Many of them lived with us for a while. And it gave me a really unique perspective on freedom and how bad things can get quickly. Germany was a totally civilized nation. They led the world in the arts. They led the world in physics and other scientific breakthroughs. Brilliant people in a civilized republic. Not with all the freedom we have, but it was good. Their fine arts were outstanding. And look at what they gave us. History's darkest hour. That's how bad it could happen anywhere. If it can happen in Germany to that level of civilization, it can happen here. And this is part of what motivates me. But if we stay on the path and keep our eye on the prize, which is salvation through Jesus Christ, then we have a real opportunity. And I believe we're a nation under judgment. And how do you reverse that? Well, the same way the people of Nineveh did when Jonah was finally convinced to go preach. Even the leader of Nineveh repented. Otherwise, they would have faced the fate of Sodom and Gomorrah. That was pretty clear. So what I'm telling you is this. We have a mission. Let's work it together. And why we're able to, because there'll come a time, if we live long enough and we go through the tribulation, if we do go into the end times, and if we're still living at that time, if it's not for some distant future generation, there'll be a time when we can't speak freely, where platforms will be taken away from us, where we'll be maligned, imprisoned, hung upside down, crucified upside down like Peter. We got to take advantage of the opportunity while we have it. Because I heard Billy Graham say this all the time. The Billy Graham channel is fantastic. He said, you in America are going to be judged more harshly on Judgment Day because you've heard the word. You've had every opportunity to go to church and repent. And he's right. He said, and other people, no. There was repression. There was ignorance, not their choice. He said, there's going to be a different standard for judgment. And we as Americans are going to be judged severely because of the opportunities we have had. I'm Dave Hodges. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for your most wonderful comments. So let's take this synergy and go change the world. God bless all of you.